Hey friends, it's Christy. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a different kind of video, at least for me. I'm going to be doing a Q&A answering your questions while refilling my Copic markers. My Copic markers are in desperate need of refilling. So many of them are really running very dry. I've been needing to do this since probably October. But I just keep getting busy with the, holiday card series and now the Valentine card series, and I keep putting it off because I don't want to miss a day of filming. And I do have a lot of Copic, so it is a several hour process for me to do this. We're not going to have a several hour video though today. We're just going to get a good start, answer the questions, and then I'll probably have to finish the marker maintenance after the video. But anyway, I have pulled out some supplies that I'm going to be using, and I will briefly go over those, and I will just briefly explain what I'm doing. But this is not going to be an instructional video on how to refill your Copic markers. I've already done that on my channel, and I will link that video up in the cards and also down in the description bar below the video, in case you're looking on something that's a little bit shorter and more to the point. This is definitely going to be a much more chatty video. So hopefully you guys are here for that. You can refill your markers alongside me, or if there's something else that you've been meaning to do in your craft room and you just haven't gotten to, like, I don't know, organizing a bin of supplies, or labeling all of your cardstocks, or, if you just want to sit and color, or even if it has nothing to do with crafting, if you've been meaning to like clean out your closet, like whatever, if you just want to be here for the chatty time, absolutely be here for that, because we all need that sometimes, don't we? Crafting can be a isolating thing to just be on your own in your own space, and sometimes it's nice to hang out together, isn't it? Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into the video. The things that I will be using are a jewelry scale. This is the one that I have. I've had it for years. I bought it on Amazon. It comes with this little tray that I don't use. I just go ahead and use it like that, but you can use the tray if you want to. I just keep it all together. And I also have a little cheat sheet for the weight of the markers that I need. I always just keep that in there, so I'll have that off to the side. I also have some refills. These have been sitting on my desk since October because these were the marker refills that I did not have but really needed. I have a whole bin off to the side on the floor with more refills. I do not have all of the Copic markers, but I do have quite a lot because I have been coloring with them now for 14 years, and I have been building my collection over that entire time. So like I said, I don't have them all, but I do have a lot. I want to say close to 300. I'm honestly not sure. Somewhere in the 250 to 300 range. So I don't have refills for all of my markers, so I will also probably need to keep a list off to the side and jot down refills that I need to order. But we've got those. I've got some new nibs. I know I'm going to need some new nibs on some of these markers because I've just let them go too long. So hopefully this will be enough. If not, I will again just make a list of which markers need new nibs, and when I'm done I can order new ones and then replace those when they come in. I also have some little alcohol swabs that I like to use for cleaning the lids of my Copics. If you don't have something like this, they are very inexpensive. You can buy them at Walmart or anywhere. But if you don't have something like this, you can use like maybe a cotton pad and some regular alcohol. So I may use that as well. And then I have some Q-tips. I like to get really deep inside the lids of my markers and get them clean with the Q-tips. So I have those off to the side. And I do also have the Copic tweezers to help me take off the chisel nibs to refill my markers, or to take off the super tips that need to be changed. So I have those. I'll be using that as well. I also have a bottle of various ink. This is the Zero marker. So I'll need to be refilling that one as well because I use that one quite a bit. This is actually the same bottle that I started with years ago. I've never had to replace this, so it did carry a lot of ink, and I definitely have more than enough to refill this again today. So this will still be good for quite a few more uses. But those are all the supplies that I'm going to be using. The first thing I like to do is cover my work surface because this is a light color and I don't want my markers to bleed out all over. So I have one of these older ones that I just keep to the side for doing like messier projects, or maybe if I need to hot glue something, I will use this instead. And then to protect that as well, I also have this piece of black chipboard, and I like to put that down as well, just to protect, you know, my work surface. Even though it is an extra one, I still like to keep things clean. So I usually place that down on top as well because, you know, it's going to get inky. My fingers are probably going to be super stained by the time I get to the end of this. And it'll take a couple days to wear off, but it is what it is. You could wear gloves, but I just find it really difficult to maneuver and do all that with gloves, and I don't really like the feel of the gloves on my hands anyway. So we are going to dive right in. I'm going to explain what I'm doing, and then we will get into the questions. I've got my phone over here off to the side. I will pull those up on that, and then yeah, just kind of answer and hopefully not take terribly long. This is going to be a bit of a longer video, I know, because there are 20 questions to get to. And hopefully we will get to all of them today. I'm really planning on it. If this video ends up being like over an hour long, we might have to do a part 2 or something, but we'll see. Okay, let's jump in. Okay, so I am going to pop these off, and I'm going to leave my little cheat sheet here for myself so that I can see that. So when your marker is full, this is for Copic markers specifically. I don't know about any other kind of alcohol markers. But when your marker is completely full, it should weigh 14.0, I think it's ounces or grams. No, must be grams, right? I don't know. I'm not great with that kind of stuff. But it should be weighing 14.0 to 14.1 when it is completely full. If it is without the chisel and the cap, so once you've taken your marker apart and are ready to refill, it should weigh about 9.1. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on my scale here and make sure that the number is down to 0. And then all of my Copic markers are right in front of me. So I am going to just take my first one. They are in rainbow order, and I start at the top, and I am at 13.8. So the way that I do it is that if this is below 13.8, then I will refill it. It probably needs to be refilled anyway, but we would be here all day if I went and got all of my markers up to 14.1. So 13.8 is kind of like, sometimes I'll refill it, sometimes I'll wait. If it's anything below 13.8, then I will refill it if I've got the refill, okay? So we'll just go ahead and set that one to the side for now. 14.0, so this one is good. I don't use the RVs that often, so 13.8, 14.0. So basically all I'm doing is just checking what markers need filled. And I can tell from my scale if they are super low or not. 13.7. Okay, so this is the first one we're going to fill. This is RV 11, and I am going to take off both ends and pull out the chisel and then find my RV 11 refill. Okay, so I've got that off to the side, and this is the newer style refill. I will be using some of the older style as well because I still have a lot of those. They're good for a few refills, but this is the newer style that they changed to. So I will just squeeze a few drops in there and then test it again. 8.6. It should be 9.1 with the caps and the chisel removed. So that is not enough. So I will just keep refilling. And I do maybe like 8 to 10 squeezes at a time, depending on how low the initial weight was. So we're at 8.7, still needs more. So it's just, you know, it's kind of like it's a long process, especially if you have a lot of markers, and it takes a lot of time to do. And I just don't have very much free time, to be honest. So it's just something that gets easily pushed off to the side. So we're really close. I don't want to overfill, so I'm going to just do a couple more and test it. 9.1, that's great. We're going to stop there, put the lid back on the refill, grab the chisel, and place that back in the marker. And then I will just check my caps and see if they need to be cleaned. These do look like they need to be cleaned. So I will either take a wipe, or I will take a little bit of alcohol and a cotton swab. Get that wet. And then I'll just kind of swirl it around in there. A lot of times I will do the cap first because that gives the cap a little bit of time to dry while I'm refilling the marker. But it's been a while since I've done this. I haven't done it in a good long time now. And I think the last time I did it was this summer, to be honest, which is way too long when you use your markers as frequently as I do. So I just kind of, you know, forget the process sometimes at the beginning until I get kind of in a rhythm. And then I just take a look at the outside and see if anything needs cleaned up there. There's a little bit of ink right there on the side, so I'll go ahead and clean that up. Okay, and that marker is good, so we will move back on to, okay, RV13 definitely needs a refill. So let me move that off to the side. And we'll do one more, and then I'm just gonna stop talking about what I'm doing and start answering your questions, because you don't want to be here all day, and I cannot be here all day, because it is a little bit difficult for me to find time to film videos like this where I am speaking out loud and not doing a voiceover, because I do live in a house with 4 people, myself included. My husband is currently at work, and my youngest son just left for work, but my middle son is at home now, so I've had to ask him to be quiet upstairs for a while. So yeah, I can't just, you know, make him be quiet in his room all day. Plus he has to leave for work later today, so he'll need to be making some noise. So I can't take the whole day. So we are getting close there. A couple more drops. Don't want to overfill it, especially this one, because this RV13, for whatever reason, has always just liked to leak on me. So we will pop that back in. And just get a little bit more alcohol going. Sometimes I drip it all over, so that's why that's another reason why I have that board down. And I will just clean it up, try to, you know, remove some of that sticky residue on the outside. Some markers will have more than others. The darker colors are going to have more for sure, because that pigment just likes to build up. Here again, like the lid is dirty, you can see that. And sometimes it's a little bit trickier to get off. If it's been there a long time, it can be harder, and you just have to work at it a bit. All right, it doesn't have to be perfect, but I do want it to be as clean as possible, because that extra ink in there can really gunk up your nibs as well. You know, when you're using your marker and you're opening and closing the nib, and it brushes up against that sticky residue on the inside, you know, that hardened pigment, and then it's getting in your nibs, and then your nibs are getting all clogged up. So you don't want that. All right, so I am going to continue working and start answering your questions. All right, so I've got my questions pulled up here. I'm just going to set that in front of me so that I can start to look at those and answer your questions. So my first question is from Danielle, and she asked, how do you refill your Copic markers? How much ink do you add? Do you change the tips often or only if they dry out? Any tips for markers that dry out when they're not used for a while? Okay, so let's break that one down. How do you refill the Copic markers? Well, I'm showing you right now. And I've already talked about how much ink to add. And like I said, if you want a more instructional video, I've already got that, and I will have that link down below. Do I change my tips often or only if they dry out? Only if they dry out or get really gunked up, or if they start to like fray a little bit at the ends, which doesn't happen. Wow, that one is really full. I don't use that one very often. Okay, only if they get a little bit frayed at the ends as well. And I kind of keep track of that as I'm coloring. So if I notice that a tip is getting a little bit frayed or something, I try to jot that down on a piece of paper, and I just keep a list until I have a few of them that need replacing, and then I'll do that on my next marker maintenance day, or make a point to at least just change out some tips, because that part doesn't take quite as long, but it I usually just do it when I'm doing marker maintenance, to be honest, because, you've already got all your supplies out. You've got your tweezers and everything out, so you might as well do it while you're refilling your markers. So, no, I don't change them out that often. Any tips for markers that dry out when they're not used in a while? Get yourself a scale, weigh them, and see if they are full. If they are full and... Ooh, okay, that one is bad. Okay, that's the colorless blender because I use it constantly. So that one is super, super dry. Get yourself a scale, measure your markers. If they are full and they're still dry, then there's something wrong with that marker. Maybe it has a crack in one of the lids, and so the alcohol is escaping out. If your marker is not full, then it needs to be refilled. So you either need to get yourself some refills or, replace the marker if it's not one that is replaceable. Usually Copics you can refill, but, well, I guess she did say Copic markers. So if you're using Copics, you should just be able to get a refill for it. But if it's another brand that doesn't have refills, you might just need to replace that marker. Okay, moving on. Paper squirrels. Since you'll be doing marker maintenance, do you find that certain colors tend to be more problematic with drying out faster or throwing up too much ink after refilling, etc.? I don't notice that certain colors tend to be more problematic with drying out faster. For me, it's more a question of use. There are certain colors that are my favorites and more go-tos, and so those get dry faster because I've used up the ink inside. I will say that dark colors tend to get more sticky. I usually have to replace more nibs on the darker colors because of there's more pigment inside, and so as that alcohol evaporates, it just leaves behind the pigment. So and then as far as throwing up too much ink after refilling, No, I don't find that with certain colors either. Certain markers just act that way. Like for me, it's the RV13. That marker has always been like that. Unless it's super dry, it just tends to leak on me. And so the solve for that is to take off both caps when I'm coloring with it. And that supposedly equalizes the pressure in the barrel and makes it not leak. I've heard that that is false, but it works for me. So I don't know. I don't know the mechanics behind like the interior of a Copic marker exactly. I mean, I have an idea just from using them for so many years, but I've never like seen the inside of one. So I don't really know specifically as far as like the pressure equalization and all of that. But it works. It works for me all the time when I use that marker. If I take the other cap off, I don't have that problem. So, I mean, take of that what you will. Okay, Franny says, have you tested other alcohol markers beyond Copics and your thoughts on each? Your coloring always amazes me, and I would love to see you do colored pencils or watercolors. Okay, let me first start with the beginning of that question. So have you tested other markers beyond Copics? Yes. The only ones that I have tested are the Spectrum Noirs, and I mean the original Spectrum Noirs, because I, many years ago, was on the Crafters Companion design team, and they required you to use Spectrum Noirs. I had already started investing in Copic markers at that point. I think I was maybe 2 years into card making and YouTube at that point, and I wasn't keen on switching to the Spectrum Noirs because I felt like I was just still learning with the Copics, but I absolutely loved them and I wanted to continue, but that was the requirement. So I did switch, and the entire time that I was on that design team, I only used Spectrum Noir markers. And I think I was on that design team for a year, or was it 2 years? It's been a while now, so it's hard for me to remember. But it was definitely over a year. And I liked them. I got used to them. The tip at that time was harder than the Super Brush nib for Copic. And man, this one just feels like it's taken forever. But I did get used to them. But when I decided to step down from that design team, I was very happy to get back to my Copic markers. And I was very surprised to find that even after more than a year of not using them, my markers were still, almost all of them were still working just fine. I do have to keep an eye on this camera because it shuts off every 10 minutes automatically, and it's so old that it no longer beeps. So I'm terrified that it's just going to cut me off and I'll be yapping away and not even recording for you guys. So I know we're getting close there, so I'm going to have to set this down for a second and hit record again. But anyway, so those are the only ones that I have used, and the reason that I have not tested out any others is because they're expensive. I mean, even the more affordable ones, if you want to have a big enough range to actually be able to test something out, you need, a few. And honestly, I would rather spend that money on new stamps and dies because I love my Copic markers. I don't feel the need to switch to another brand. I don't think that I would like it as much because I've gotten used to these for so many years. And I'm not looking for a cheaper alternative because I've already invested the money in this brand. If that makes sense, yeah. That's my reasoning. Okay, hold on one second. Okay, and as far as part 2 of your question, well, first of all, thank you for the lovely compliment on my coloring, and that you would love to see me do colored pencils or watercolors. Okay, here's a tip really quick before I get back to that. Sometimes when you snap your cap on, you can feel that it's a bit loose. And that probably means that it's the wrong cap, the wrong end. So try switching them out, because you really do want to have that click. Hear that? You want that to have that click. And sometimes the caps are not exactly the same for whatever reason. I don't understand why that is, but you want to make sure that you get that snap. If it feels a little bit loose, try switching to the other end, because otherwise you're not getting a tight seal and you're going to have your markers evaporate out. Okay, as far as colored pencils or watercolors, I have tried both. I have Spectrum Noir colored pencils. I even have a small set of Prismacolor colored pencils. But I just love my Copics. I love my Copics so much, and for me, they're easy. They, I've gotten to a point with my coloring. Hold on one sec. This is one that I ordered. I gotta see, because I don't have this one. Yes, I did. Okay, this is one of the new ones. So I'm gonna have to rearrange my my refills after this video, because I've got to make room now for all of these new ones. So I'm gonna have to open this up. Does anybody else have to open stuff with their teeth when it's really tight? I know that's kind of gross, but I can't get it with my fingernails. My fingernails are crap. It's harder. It just makes it harder. And for me, coloring is my therapy. Like, it's the most relaxing part of card making. It's my favorite part of it. And it's harder to put out as many videos as I do if I don't feel confident in what I'm sharing with you. So should I probably use my colored pencils more than I do? Yeah. Am I going to? Probably not. That's just, you know, it is what it is. Sometimes you have to just lean into the things that you know that you love and feel that you're good at, or at least getting good at, that you see yourself improving it in. And I just don't have a lot of free time to like test out things. So there's that. As far as watercolors, I did do some videos with some Zigs for a while. I really liked the Zig clean color brushes, and I felt like I was starting to get the hang of those. But the problem is that I noticed that after a couple of weeks, my cards were completely faded. They were not light fast, and they didn't look good anymore. And I send my cards to people and I sell my cards. So, you know, you don't want to put all that effort into something and, you know, getting a beautiful blend, and then 2 weeks later, like, it's all faded. It was, yeah, it was so discouraging to me. So I stopped using them. I still have them, but I did move them like to the side of my desk, and they're not at arm's reach anymore. I don't use them anymore at all for that specific reason. And other watercolors, again, it's just like a learning thing that I don't feel confident in it. I did sign up for a watercolor class years ago, and never really had the time to sit down and put it into practice and actually learn. And so I don't know. I just prefer to stick to the things that give me the results that I have come to know and expect, and lean into that and try to get as good as I can with that thing that I already love. Would I like to learn how to do watercolors? Absolutely. But like I said, I just don't really have the time in my life right now. Maybe someday I'll get to that point where I have more free time, but now is not that time. So yeah, I'm sorry, but I probably won't be doing much watercoloring or colored pencils on this channel anytime soon. Okay, moving on. I think I'm taking too long with these answers. I want to be thorough, but we are several minutes in now, And that was only the first 3, so I'm gonna have to try to speed up or definitely do a part 2. I don't know. You guys tell me if I ever do one of these again, which we'll see. We'll see how the response is to this one. If I should move more quickly through the answers, or if you want me to take the time to really answer your question, but then, you know, the video is just going to be freaking long. I mean, we've got to be already over 20 minutes in at this point, I'm guessing. Okay, so let's move on. Heidi says, where do you get your inspiration from? Everywhere. Honestly, everywhere. I am a very visual person, and inspiration is everywhere you look. Sometimes I can be inspired by a piece of fabric. You know, I'll be at the store and I'll come across a dress and I'll think, oh, what a pretty color palette. Or I really love the flowers on this. I would love to try to redo that design with some Copics. Or, you know, like a piece of wrapping paper. I've been inspired by that before. Book covers. It's literally everywhere. But the point is to try to take it and make that into something that you can do, you know? So not everything, just because I get inspired by something doesn't mean that I can recreate it, but it can be a jumping off point. If you're looking for more specific places to get inspired, one thing that I used to do okay, I got cut off there. Maybe that was a sign that I'm getting too long-winded. But what I was saying was that I used to take a walk through the greeting card department at like Target or wherever, and take a look at the greeting cards there and just get ideas from that. See if there was anything that made me think of certain stamp sets or different color palettes or anything like that, or even just the layout, the way that the cards would be arranged. And I wouldn't go home and copy it, but I would take a picture and just, you know, use that as like a jumping off point. There's also tons of inspiration on Pinterest. If I'm looking for a color palette, I go there 99 times out of 100. Because they are a great source for that. I have a whole entire board on color palettes. So, I mean, if you want to follow me, my Pinterest handle is always down below with all of my other handles and links on social media. So, go ahead and stop there. Okay, so moving on. Heidi says also, do you ever lose your crafty mojo? And if so, how do you get it back? Absolutely, 100%. I mean, everybody does. Everybody goes through phases of burnout. But if you are on design teams, it's just like a luxury that you don't have, to be honest. If you're on a design team or more than one design team, you are expected to produce, and if you don't feel like it, that's not a good enough excuse. Those companies need your inspiration. You have made an agreement that you will use their product in a certain amount of time, and I don't ever like to miss a deadline. I really don't. That's something that I'm really, really particular about, that I like to turn my projects in and on time. I don't ever want to be known as a person who doesn't meet their commitments. And so whether you're feeling inspired or not, you just have to push through, you know? So planning out your cards ahead of time, that has been a real game changer for me. You know, I've talked about this lots of times, but I sit down every Sunday afternoon. Ooh, I really overfilled that one. Don't do that. Luckily it doesn't seem to be leaking, so it should be all right. It's a little bit leaky on this side though from just overfilling that bottle. See, it's very hard to talk and do this at the same time. I've lost my train of thought again. Sorry, guys. I am terrible at this. I am just not good at, I don't know, walking and chewing gum at the same time or whatever. Yeah, you just got to do it. You got to push through. And if you don't, you know, have that situation, if you're not on a design team and you have the luxury of being able to stop and take a breather, that's okay for a time. You know, go do something else that inspires you, a different craft, go see a movie, go to an art museum, get inspired by something else and come back refreshed. But don't put it off too long, because creativity is a muscle like anything else. You need to exercise it to keep it strong. And if you're taking too many breaks between projects, you're going to get out of the habit of doing that, of being creative, and it's just not going to come to you. So take a break if you can, but not too long. Just kind of push through. You just got to push through. Okay, how do you keep track of the projects that you need to do, and how do you organize them? Okay, I have a very involved and intense system. So I have a planner where I write down all of the projects that are due that month and when they have to go live. Then I also have a, well, hold on, I'll show you one sec. Okay, hopefully this will all fit on screen here. So I have a planner. I can show you this because today is January 31st. So nothing is a surprise at this point. But I write down everything that is due and when it has to go live. And then I keep a list over on the side of all of the live dates. And from that, I put it on my film schedule. This is my film schedule that I have every month. And when I was talking about not having free time, you can see from this, I had 2 days off for the entire month of January. One being New Year's Day, which is a holiday for everybody, and the other one being the 9th. Nothing else was free. I just have a very busy schedule. I actually started a third job recently, so it's going to get even worse. But somehow I am juggling it. I don't know. I don't know if I'm doing the best job. I also keep a running tally of all of the videos that I have to film. I've already thrown away my January one because this is my last video for January. This is my February one. I'm going on vacation at the end of February, so my beginning of February is going to be jam-packed. I only have 4 possible days to film in a week because 3 of the other days are at one of my other jobs. So that means no days off for February either until my vacation. And then I also do a daily to-do list and I check everything out. So yeah, I am extremely organized. That's how I keep track. Because like I said, I do not want to miss a deadline. That is like horrifying to me. So all right, I don't even remember what marker I was on, so I'm just gonna start grabbing. Let's see, where was I? How do you keep track of how do you organize them? Okay, who are your favorite crafters? Okay, so as far as like other YouTubers, for sure, Amy Young of Sweet November Stamps. She is an amazing colorist. I'm not sure that I have this one. Yes, I did. I ordered it. Okay, good. Sweet November Stamps, Amy Young. She is an amazing Copic colorist. I have learned so much from her. She is one of the best of the best of the best, in my opinion. I think she is amazing. If you have not checked out her channel, definitely go do that. She also illustrates and owns a stamp company that sells stamps and digital stamps. And I actually just placed an order the other day, so I will have a haul video coming soon, showing you what I picked up from her, because I was desperately in need of some new stamps. Also, Caitlin Annalee cards. She is also an amazing colorist, and she does great videos. So I would say those two for sure. As far as like just other crafters that don't necessarily do YouTube, I would say Maureen Simon, of course. Leanne West is another one of my huge inspirations. Nicky Meek, Megan Quinn, Mayra Duran-Hernandez, and Samantha Mann. If you're looking for somebody who does use their zigs, Samantha Mann is your girl. She is amazing with those. As far as not card related, I have to give a shout out to my friend Heather Cash. She is a real friend in real life, and she is an incredible artist. And she writes and illustrates children's books. She is now my co-worker for my new job and my other job. She's the one who hooked me up with this new job that I just got. And she is such a giving and wonderful person. She has already been over to my house twice this week and given me hours of her time to help me get the hang of things. So I appreciate her so much. She has a YouTube channel called Heather Cash Art, and she helps you with all kinds of stuff as far as Canva, and also like children's book illustrations and publishing questions and all kinds of stuff like that. So I definitely recommend her channel as well. Shannon says, how many cards would you say you make in a week? And the answer is 2 to 4. So I usually film every single card that I make. It's very rare that I make a card and not film it. And even though my schedule is actually only Monday and Friday uploads, I'm always pre-filming because, you know, when you're on design teams, they need things in advance so that somebody can put those together in a blog post or get those up on YouTube or whatever. So I'm always filming a little bit in advance for that kind of thing. And then there's always extra things like pre-filming for going on vacation, or like for Lawn Fawn, the Fawny Holiday Week and the Lots of Heart Week and stuff like that, where we are asked to do extra projects, and or like doing like a design team hop as a guest designer like I just did with Pretty Pink Posh. There's always like extra things going on, so even though you might only see a video going up for me on a Monday and Friday, I usually am filming at least Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, sometimes Friday as well. Like January you saw was jam-packed, February is going to be jam-packed. So it just depends. But yeah, 2 to 4 cards per week for sure. Okay, so we're going to move on to the topic of design teams. So Rose says, how do you juggle being on design teams with all of your other responsibilities and interests? Not very well, obviously. And that just means in like the other responsibilities and interests kind of fall to the wayside. Did I do that right? Did I even need... Oh, I've already done this one. Guys, I'm getting lost. Okay. That's not completely true. I don't know. I don't have a lot of free time. That's the answer. That's the true answer. I don't have a lot of free time. I do still take care of my family. I cook dinner 5 nights a week from scratch, and my house is clean. I don't do a ton of the cleaning. My kids have chores as well, but I do general upkeep and tidying. I do laundry. I don't clean the kitchen. afterwards. I mean, I do sometimes, but that's part of my kids' chores. But I cook all the meals, and I don't know. I just, I work all day, and then I stop in time to make dinner, and after dinner, sometimes I go back to work. I don't know. I don't have a lot of free time, so I'm not great at balancing it, but I do always get my work done. That's really important to me, like I said earlier. Is it worth being on design teams, or do the cons outweigh the benefits? Hey friends, it's voiceover Christy popping in to let you know that I am going to split this video into 2 parts. So what you have just seen will be part 1, and part 2 will be coming out next Friday. This video just ended up being way too long. After editing, it was still an hour and a half of footage, and I just thought that that was going to be too much time for you guys to devote to watching one single video. So I know it was long already, but I really did want to take the time to answer all of your questions thoroughly. So if you have been enjoying this part 1 of the video, definitely stay tuned for next Friday, where we're going to go into all of the design team stuff and lots more. So thank you so much if you have watched this far, and I appreciate you guys more than you know, and I'll see you next week for part 2. Bye-bye.